the Italian Football Podcast.
So, only one place to start in the transfer market. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, the bombshell which Antonio Conte revealed at the weekend. He announced ahead of their weekend game against their Sunday game against Verona that Kvaratskhelia had asked to leave the club. He was subsequently left out of the team for that Verona game. PSG are in talks to sign him, and we're looking at probably 70 million euros, 80 million euros for Kvara. Conte confirmed that he was very disappointed, said he'd worked extremely hard for these first 6 months of the season, that he'd actually asked to leave in the summer, but they'd kind of convinced him to stay, but now he has asked to leave again. My first reaction to this, as in why it has come to this, what has gone wrong for Kvaratskhelia to leave. For me, there's one huge reason that stands out from all the others, and it's all Napoli's fault. It's all Aurelio De Laurentiis' fault. It's the club's fault for not giving him that new contract. It's actually ridiculous now that we're sitting here at the start of 2025, a player that joined in the summer of 2023 and 2022, sorry, and he's still on the same salary and same contract that he was when he joined the club, despite him being arguably the best player or one of the two best players in the league, along with Victor Osimhen. When Napoli won that historic Scudetto in his first season in the club, 1.5 million euros a year, one of the lowest in the Napoli squad. It's absolutely insulting. It's disgraceful the way he's been treated by Napoli, that he's still on the same contract. And also, if you look at the timeline of his contract negotiations, Napoli refused to even open talks with him for a whole year until last year, until 2024. They refused to even open talks with him. So, it was too late already by then when they opened the contract negotiations. He should have been on a huge salary hike, new contract as soon as they won that Scudetto, as reward for bringing him that Scudetto. So it all started then. It's been handled terribly. It's been too late now. What they've tried to negotiate with him with a new contract, and it's all come to this. So Napoli can only blame themselves. De Laurentiis can only blame themselves for this.
I really have nothing more to add, because that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly the timeline, and that's exactly when this went wrong. And Khvicha has been very well mannered and calm, hasn't destabilized. And he asked to leave last summer. They convinced him to stay, but then we're now in January and still no new contract has been reached, and no new. I can imagine by then it was too late. But yeah, that's exactly it. You this, you have to understand that this isn't, or Aurelio De Laurentiis has to understand that the 1980s are over, both in terms of movies and in terms of football. In the sense that it's a player's market now. You sign a contract, the players can do this. They have that power. And he should have, exactly like you said, the second they won the Scudetto, they should have sat down with him that summer and given him a wage hike with a wage increase and a contract extension, because that way the player feels more appreciated for the historic things he did. But De Laurentiis literally said, well, I remember it clearly. He said it, that the ink on the contract is not dry yet. We don't renegotiate contracts every single year. Well, congratulations. This is what happens. You're in the middle of a Scudetto race, you're top of the league, and the biggest star remaining from that Scudetto side in your club has demanded publicly to leave. Well done.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
No, it's all Napoli's fault. He's the 19th highest paid player in the Napoli squad.
I mean,
it's
absurd.
embarrassing.
It's absolutely absurd. And it's like, you can laugh and blah, 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 and, he's funny and this and that, but this is pure, sheer incompetence. And this is, again, incompetence, just like with Osimhen, when he created that mess and it ended the way it did. And now he everything he did after the Scudetto that summer, when he didn't appoint a proper sporting director, he missed out on Thiago Motta, he, all the things he did.
It's not even a modern
These
football
are the
problem.
examples. This is again or that meme. The effects of your actions coming back to haunt you, and it's on him. It is entirely on him. It was too late to do it already in the summer when he was asking to leave. They should have probably sold him in the summer, if I'm perfectly honest. But now he stayed for 6 months. And I got to be honest with you. If we look at it from the actual other side, I don't think this harms Napoli.
Well, I want to
On
come to
the
that in a
pitch.
second. Just staying on kind of like the blame game. You know, the I don't even think it's a modern football problem. This is just a matter of respect. Like, it doesn't matter what era you're in, if it's 1970, 1990, or 2025. If you're in a football team or any sports team, and you've got the best player on the team who is instrumental in winning the title, the championship for you, and it's a club like Napoli even added to that. This is a historic title, the first that they've won in 23 years that they'd won. And we're talking about a world class player here, one of the best in the world, and he plays such a pivotal role in you winning. And you're the 19th highest paid player in the squad. You're on McDonald's wages, and it's just a matter of respect. That's what it is. It's a matter of respect. You pay the player what he deserves. It's not even about modern football, because I'm very critical. I think we both are, how money has ruined football, and how you've got players on these massive contracts. That they're earning £100,000 a week or 10. And then they still want more. They want more. Greedy, just complete greed. And you think, well, what is the difference between earning, say, 10 million a year and earning 12 million a year? And they just want more. Now that is pure greed. Now that, if Kvaratskhelia was on, 10 million a year and he won the Scudetto and he wanted 15 million a year, then that, I would have been on De Laurentiis' side. But we're talking about a player that is on €1.5 million a year, is the 19th highest paid player in his own squad. And that is relatively, that is McDonald's wages in football. That is just a matter of respect, and just pay him what he deserves, everything that he done, and it's just a stab in the back. That is, I mean, it's embarrassing. So I don't blame Kvara. I'm completely on his side for leaving. He's been very patient. He's stayed on for another 18 months despite being humiliated and insulted in this way. He stayed on for another 18 months. I don't blame him for leaving. And I don't think Napoli fans should. The blame is all on your president and on the club.
Yeah, it is. I've got nothing to add to that. I think it's fairly clear, and I've seen many Napoli fans kind of say exactly that. And people going, well, if you sign a contract, you're like, listen, that's cute and great, and I know the law of it. I'm actually was very good in contract law, so I know how the legality of it works. But then there's reality and real life. Please join us in the real world, in the real life. Don't defend the stupidity of De Laurentiis, who acted like a grumpy old Shakespearean, greedy fat old man sitting there behind a desk gobbling away, when he had all the power, could have fixed this problem already when Dickensian, not Shakespearean, Dickensian factory owner sitting behind his desk, pointing the whole hand, showing who's the boss. When when this is all on him, he could have resolved this already.
Kvaratskhelia is Oliver Twist going up for the gruel, asking for some more, and
more,
and he's the big fat,
yeah.
in the
More
upstairs, all those fatties around the table,
No, but it's embarrassing. He embarrasses himself. I mean, we've given lots of praise where it's deserved to De Laurentiis for the fantastic way that he's run Napoli since taking them over in virtually non-existent form. and brought them to the Champions League quarterfinal and the Scudetto and Coppa Italia and all these other things he's done. But he also, like all human beings, has a tendency to get very arrogant and full of himself. And he did do that. And this is, again, the remnants of the stupidity post-Scudetto, which this is hopefully the last thing that haunts Napoli from that era, because I don't see this being repeated ever again. However, on the flip side, I don't think it's all negative. I think there's many things that is actually pretty positive. Number one, barring Lobotka and Anguissa, the main big players from that Scudetto era, because most of them, other than those two who are left, had had a more peripheral role.
Di Lorenzo as well,
fair, but I'm going to get to that. I mean, in the sense of how important they are, Di Lorenzo, Lobotka, and Anguissa, yes, but now they're all gone. You're really rebuilding now. Osimhen's gone. Kvara will soon be gone. Kim is gone. You can really kind of freshen it out. It's over now. That is now in the pantheon of Napoli legend. Now you need to move on, and you have no choice but to move on. And you really do have the right, perfect coach to move on in Antonio Conte. You really do have the perfect sporting project to move on, because if there's anything Conte does, he's not sentimental. He doesn't wait around. He moves on. He wants to win. It's the next win. Immediately when he wins one trophy, he's looking to the next one. Like, that's just the kind of character he is. And secondly, I don't think, like, it was a big question mark going into this season how Kvara would do in Antonio Conte's system. And barring becoming player of the month, I think it was in September, he's not been very good. He's not excelled. He's not delivering what Napoli need. And then on the other hand, you have Neres, who looks completely on fire. And you want to bring in someone to work in that system with 70 million. You can play with 60, 70 million, however much they get. You can play with that. You can actually do something with that. And I know we're going to get to who they should buy, but I mean, there's been talks of Chiesa, there's been talks of Garnacho. Personally, in my opinion, I think both Kulusevski's agent and Conte should be moving heaven and earth for them to be working together again. I mean, Kulusevski in a Conte system at Napoli like this would be unbelievable. And I'm sorry, but Spurs is a mid-table club. They won't win any trophies again. And if he wants to wither away in mediocrity, then go right ahead.
They could even beat a non-league team yesterday over 90 minutes.
I'm sorry, but it's like, you can tell Spurs have
part-timers to play. They're a part-time team. They played yesterday. They played against
Spurs have a huge fan base. They have important history. They have a fantastic stadium.
They played against one guy that got injured standing on a nail at work.
Yeah. No, I saw that. No, I mean, it's like all of those things are true, but Spurs are not a big club. They're not a title-winning club. They're not a Champions-winning club, and I think Kulusevski would be ideal. We saw what Conte can do to Kulusevski when they played together. It's the only season, barring his Parma 6 months, that he has looked like a top-class player. It was under Antonio Conte.
Kulusevski won't happen. He's too expensive, and he plays on the right, whereas they need a left winger. But I mean, I think that. Listen, I think that there's a couple of different ways to look at this. That the instant impact of losing Kvaratskhelia for Napoli's chances of winning the Scudetto this season, that depends, I guess, partly on, like you say, how they replace him, who comes in, how they spend that 70 million. Do they strengthen the team? Do they find which left winger do they bring in, and how what's the quality of players? I mean, we're seeing Chiesa, Ziyech, Zegrova, who's a right winger, Dorgu, who can kind of play everywhere, Garnacho, which I think is probably unrealistic, even Rashford, who's the first player I thought of actually was Marcus Rashford. Whether he's a Conte player or not, I don't know, but these are the kind of names that are being mentioned. We'll have to see who they go for. That will be their Scudetto chances will depend a lot on how they replace Kvaratskhelia.
I've heard a name that I really like, and I think Ziyech, it works. Garnacho, maybe. I don't think he's too expensive.
Ziyech is a
Kulusevski,
right
like you
winger though,
said.
so
Yeah.
and also he's past his best now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Chiesa would be a huge gamble. Zagrova's fantastic, but he's a right winger. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I
We'll have
mean,
to see. We'll have to see. But I think that the longer term is where I'm worried about Napoli. That's where I slightly disagree with you because that Scudetto winning team. If you look at the age of the Napoli team, this season, okay, that's fine. Conte will get everything out of them that he can. But this is quite an old Napoli team. And really, the three players who were of an age that could be around for a long time in this Napoli team
they've
were
all
those
left.
three players you mentioned.
They've all left.
Kim, Osimhen, and Kvaratskhelia. And by the end of this season, by the summer, all three will be gone. Kvara probably is going to leave now, and Osimhen's going to leave for certain in the summer. So all three are gone. Those that are remaining are pretty old players. I mean, if you go through, Di Lorenzo is going to be 32 this summer. Rrahmani's 31. Lobotka's already 30. And Guisa, I think, is turning 30 this year, if I'm not mistaken, or he's 29. We're talking about, the Lukaku, he's going to be 32. Politano's in his 30s. We're talking about an old team. The core of the team is old. There's a few sprinklings of younger players that have come in, like Buongiorno. McTominay's still of a decent age. I think he's 28 now. But generally, it's an aging team. So this team next year and the year after, and we know Conte generally doesn't stay at clubs for longer than 2 to 3 years. That is the concern. But again, let's see how they spend the 70 million. Do they bring in younger players? My concern is kind of like what Napoli are going to be like, because they've gone all in with Conte. Obviously, they bought in, De Laurentiis has bought into the Conte project, and that means buying ready-made players rather than buying developing players. I get that. That's already going to be the case. So I think this was already a concern. But when you lose Kvaratskhelia, it kind of hammers it home how,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
you've
becomes
got rid of
so
all your
pertinent.
players that can give you something sustainable over a longer period, and you're just basically all in on older players. So my worry with Napoli is, where are they going to be in 2 years? What is their team going to be? Because most of this team will be past it in
I
2 years'
think
time.
I think that's pretty much what we said when Conte joined as well, that he's an instant impact coach. And this is what happens when you think you're smarter than everybody else and you want to play the long game and penny pinch. You end up having to pay more just to make amends. And that's exactly what's happening now with De Laurentiis. He tried to be smarter than everyone else and be arrogant and say stupid shit like, "Oh, I don't." When Thiago Motta asked him about who the sporting director is, he said, "What sporting director? I'm here." If you're going to be that kind of a guy, then congratulations, you played yourself. Here are the unfortunate consequences of your actions. Enjoy. Have some humble pie. Have some nice little custard on it. Enjoy it. Bon appetit. So that's what he's doing. This is all it is. But we all know that the Conte project is maximum going to be 2-3 years. We all know that. I think that was pretty much like everyone knows this. But so they don't have they can't have they don't have the luxury to think that far ahead right now. What he has to do is to just bite the bullet, try to get as much out of Kvara, try to get as young and decent enough replacement for Kvara in that system, and and try to keep Conte happy, which is easier said than done.